Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm so happy you are here. I am going to walk you through this beautiful winter scene full of monochromatic colors. I am putting on Sodalite Genuine from Daniel Smith and Cerulean Blue. I really like those two colors together. They're both a very blues, but one is very dark in sediment and one is very light and just a nice moody blue. I love cerulean for that. I am wetting down my paper and I want a very atmospheric look, so it's going to be very wet into wet, and I just want to start with the cerulean at the top where the sky is, and then I'm going to add some of that beautiful Sodalite Genuine. It's actually minerals grounded up and then put into watercolor. So I'm painting with Sodalite, and I'm just adding some water and making it look very atmospheric. The paper is very wet, and I'm okay with that. That's how we get that beautiful color going. And this is really dark, but it will dry lighter. And I just love how it moves on the paper when the paper is wet. It really gives a nice, wonderful, wintry feel to it. It reminds me of being out walking when there's not a lot of color in the winter. I wanted to paint these trees because they're just lovely to paint, and you have to let it dry, but I can add a little bit more dark to it. This really helps with the moodiness of this watercolor scene. And of course I'm going to let the water do its thing until I tell it to stop, and then I can just use my brush to kind of sculpt where I want the pigment to go. Once it's dried, I will come back and paint the tree. I let it dry for about 20 minutes. Now I'm going to draw a simple tree, and I like to have like a V point, and this is just a preliminary sketch. It will sometimes go as planned, and sometimes I find my brush does its own thing, but this is just a little guide. I don't normally draw my trees, I usually just paint them, but to show you how I paint the tree, I thought I would draw them. Alright, with some thick Sodalite Genuine, I'm painting the tree trunk, and I'm using a round brush where I can get thick and thin lines. And now I'm going in, I don't want to use very much pigment on my brush. In fact, the less the better. I'm going to use the pigment that's already on the tree and just bring that out, as you can see what I just did. And I look, or in my mind's eye, I'm thinking of a tree and how it branches out, and there's no right or wrong way to paint the branches, just as long as you get them to look fairly natural. And I try not to make them too stiff or too flowy, so there's a science behind it, and it just takes practice. I decided I wanted my tree trunk to be a little bit longer. Now I'll go back in and add a little bit more darks to some of the lighter branches, just to give it some variety. As you can see, and now I'm just adding just a little bit more to where it needs to be. And I'm going to go in again with even darker tones and darken up some tree trunks, just so it has a lot of variation in value. One thing that I love about painting trees is the laciness of the tree branches. It's just beautiful, and the Sodalite Genuine really makes it easy for the granulation to happen. And now I'm going to go back in, and I'm just going to splatter some beautiful watercolor that's just left on my palette, and clean up a little bit of the splatters where I don't want it to be so thick. Maybe it's snow, maybe they're like little birds, I don't know. I just like a little bit of splatter. And then I do like to always add a little bit of iridescence, so I'm using electric blue in my 2 watercolor palette of metallics, and I'm just going to sprinkle on that just to give it more of a wintry, Christmassy look. But you can definitely not splatter if that's not something you want to do. Anyways, I find painting trees very mindful a mindfulness practice. So this is me just showing you how I would paint a tree without pencil lines. And I always start with a V, and I try to keep my brush pretty clean, and it's a very light touch. And once I just kind of get into the groove of things, it happens in about a minute or two. I don't spend a whole lot of time on it, and it's just lovely. I enjoy painting trees. And you can see that just with the Sodalite Genuine, it's just beautiful. You can really get some beautiful granulation and layering. Anyways, I hope that you found this very helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and follow us on the Watercolor Cards Facebook group, and enjoy your creative process. Thank you so much for watching.